The unexpected reunion. The morning fog rolled across San Francisco Bay like a soft gray blanket, muffling the sounds of the awakening city. From the 42nd floor of his glass tower, Marcus Wellington watched the world come alive below him. His corner office commanded a view that most people only saw in magazines, but today the familiar sight brought him no comfort. The mahogany desk behind him held stacks of quarterly reports and merger documents that demanded his attention. At 62, Marcus had built Wellington Industries from a small family business into a global empire. His name appeared on Forbes lists and business magazines celebrated his achievements. Yet as he stood there in his perfectly tailored suit, watching the fog lift from the bay, he felt utterly alone. The silence of his office was broken only by the gentle hum of the air conditioning and the distant sound of traffic far below. His secretary had not yet arrived, and the building felt empty in these early morning hours. This was when Marcus did his best thinking, when he could escape the constant demands of board meetings and phone calls. But today, his thoughts kept drifting to memories he usually pushed away. Images of a little girl with bright brown eyes and pigtails, running through the halls of his old house. The sound of laughter echoing from the backyard pool. Birthday parties filled with balloons and cake, before everything changed. Sarah had been 8 when the divorce happened. The custody battles that followed were bitter and long, filled with lawyers and court dates that stretched on for months. By the time the dust settled, his ex-wife Patricia had moved across the country to Boston, taking Sarah with her. What started as scheduled visits and phone calls gradually faded into birthday cards and holiday gifts sent through lawyers. Now, 15 years later, Marcus couldn't even remember the last time he had heard his daughter's voice. He had tried reaching out over the years, but Patricia made it clear that Sarah wanted nothing to do with him. Eventually, he stopped trying, burying himself deeper in his work, building his empire as if success could fill the hollow space in his heart. The intercom on his desk buzzed, startling him from his thoughts. "Mr. Wellington," came his secretary's voice. "You have a visitor in the lobby. She says she's your daughter." Marcus felt the world tilt slightly. His hand trembled as he reached for the intercom button. "My daughter." "Yes, sir. Sarah Wellington. Should I send her up?" For a moment, Marcus couldn't speak. After all these years of silence, why would Sarah come here now? His mind raced through possibilities, most of them unpleasant. People usually only reached out to estranged family members when they needed something, and Marcus had learned to be cynical about such things. "Send her up," he finally managed to say. The elevator ride to the 42nd floor would take exactly 93 seconds. Marcus knew this because he had timed it countless times during his years in this building. Those 93 seconds felt like an eternity as he straightened his tie and tried to prepare himself for whatever was coming. When the elevator doors opened, Marcus barely recognized the woman who stepped out. Sarah had grown into a beautiful 23-year-old with her mother's delicate features but his own determined jawline. She wore a simple blue dress and carried a large bag over her shoulder. But it was what she held in her arms that made Marcus's breath catch in his throat. 2 babies. Identical twins, by the look of them, perhaps 6 months old. They were sleeping peacefully, bundled in soft yellow blankets, their tiny faces peaceful and serene. "Hello, Dad," Sarah said quietly, her voice carrying a mixture of nervousness and resolve. Marcus stared at his daughter, then at the babies, then back at Sarah. Sarah. What? May I come in?" she asked, adjusting her grip on the twins. Marcus nodded mutely and stepped aside, watching as Sarah walked into his office with careful, measured steps. She settled into one of the leather chairs facing his desk, cradling the babies with practiced ease. "I know this is unexpected," Sarah began, her voice soft but steady. "I know we haven't talked in years. But I didn't know where else to go." Marcus slowly moved to sit behind his desk, his executive training kicking in even as his personal world reeled. Are you? "They're mine," Sarah said simply. "Emma and Ethan. They're 6 months old." She paused, looking down at the sleeping infants. "Their father left when he found out I was having twins. Said he wasn't ready for one baby, let alone 2. The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. His daughter, abandoned and alone with 2 babies. The same daughter he had lost touch with, who had needed him and he hadn't even known. "Mom died 3 months ago," Sarah continued, her voice barely above a whisper. Cancer. It was quick, but the medical bills, everything's gone, Dad. The house, the savings, everything. I've been staying with friends, but I can't do that forever. Not with the babies. Marcus felt his carefully constructed world of board meetings and profit margins crumble around him. Here was his daughter, his own flesh and blood, struggling alone while he sat in his glass tower counting his billions. Sarah, I'm so sorry, he said, his voice rough with emotion. About your mother, about everything. I should have tried harder to stay in touch. I should have. You couldn't have known, Sarah interrupted gently. Mom made it clear she didn't want you involved. I believed her when she said you didn't care about us anymore. One of the babies stirred, making a soft cooing sound. Sarah automatically began rocking gently, and Marcus watched in amazement as his daughter soothed the infant back to sleep. She was a natural mother, he could see that immediately. What do you need? Marcus asked, leaning forward in his chair. Whatever it is, whatever you need, just tell me. Sarah looked up at him, and for the first time since she had arrived, he saw tears in her eyes. I don't want your money, Dad. I mean, I do need help, but that's not why I'm here. Not really. Then why? Because they should know their grandfather, she said, looking down at the sleeping twins. Because I've been so angry for so long, and I'm tired of being angry. Because maybe it's not too late for us to be a family. Marcus felt something break open in his chest, a dam of emotion he had kept locked away for 15 years. He stood up slowly and walked around the desk, kneeling beside Sarah's chair. Up close, he could see that Emma had Sarah's nose, while Ethan had inherited Marcus's distinctive chin. May I? He asked, extending his arms. Sarah smiled through her tears and carefully transferred Emma into his arms. The baby was so small, so perfect, and as Marcus held his granddaughter for the first time, he felt a completeness he hadn't experienced in decades. It's not too late, he whispered, his own eyes filling with tears. It's never too late for family. Outside, the San Francisco fog had completely lifted, and the morning sun streamed through the office windows, bathing them all in warm, golden light.